I believe in
Live. You're live, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is our week 15 of Release the Quacken. We have another special guest tonight. We have Ray with us, and we have Jody, Jean, and myself, Kevin.
Hey.
So how was everybody's week this week? Jody?
I had a fantastic week. I gotta say, I'm kind of still pretty much flying from my week. I completed the half marathon, the Queen Bee half marathon, which is part of the Flying Pig race series, but mainly geared towards women, which is actually pretty cool. So no offense, guys, I love you, but if you run this race, your rankings don't even get placed in the scores. So they only rank the women, which is kind of cool. So this was a race that I started. I hear it echo again. This was a race that I ran. It was my very, very, very first half marathon back in 2016 when I first started running, when I didn't even think I could do a 5K. And I trained for it. I did that race in 2 hours and 1 minute. And I was so just unbelievably ecstatic. I thought I would never, ever beat that score again. So today, all those years later, I PR'd. So I can't believe it. I am paying for it today. My calves are killing me. My hamstrings are a little tight. I pushed it yesterday, and I just my fueling worked. The temperatures were cool. Everything just kind of clicked. I had my husband text me to tell me to go faster, go harder, push harder. Like he was not being he was being mean. No, he loves me. Just he was like, come on, you can do this. Go. So it was. I don't think I'll ever go for that again, but it was fun. It was fun to try for it and go for it and really see what I could do.
Well, and to get a PR on that course, some of us ran the Flying Pig earlier in the year. I know that some of that course was part of this. That course is no joke, and the PR on that, you put in the work for sure. But that was not an easy course to get a PR on, and you crushed it. I mean,
thanks.
Really crushed it.
I ate clean all week. Jean, did you hear that? I ate clean all week. I
hydrated.
Very specific clean eating plans. I drank a ton of water. Kevin, did you hear that? I drank a ton of water. I was trying to do everything to set up for a good race, and I'm pretty excited that it happened because I worked hard. I did a really different training plan than I've ever done before. I got to give a shout out to Jeff Galloway and Coach Chris Twiggs, because he wrote my training plan, things that I've never done before, like track repeats, which I did not love, hill repeats, which I did not love. Pretty much I did not love, but it seemed to work. So anyway, it was a great week. So I'm pretty happy. So. But thanks for asking.
That's good stuff.
That's great.
I'm wobbling today.
Take it easy and recover, and you'll be back at Dopey training. And well, I mean, you've already done probably all of us combined, but
I don't know about that. But
Jean, how about you? How was your week?
Yeah, so it was a slow, soft week, and I was coming off being sick. I traveled to San Francisco this week, and I got a few walks down by the pier, and so the sights were great. Saw Alcatraz and the Brooklyn Bridge,
not Brooklyn,
Golden Gate Bridge. You know what I mean? Sorry. That actually comes from a joke. I posted a picture one time of the Brooklyn Bridge when I was in New York, and I said the Golden Gate Bridge is so beautiful in this light, and just to see what people say, people lost their minds on me. But I had a few walks. I had a run, and it was really nice. And then had another 3-mile run yesterday, and I'm still not quite recovered from that, as well as some other issues. But I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. I'm so excited. Shouldn't be that excited to go to the doctor, but anyway, it was a good week. I'm actually considering. I think I told you guys a half marathon next Saturday as part of my training run. I've got to kind of decide if I feel like my body should, my legs, my lungs should be fine for it. It's just the rest of my body that's not cooperating right now. And I'm considering just powering through. I'm going to go to the doctor tomorrow and determine kind of what I'm going to do. But anyway, it was a good week. Happy to be here today to tell you that it was a good week.
Well, you had some beautiful location to go run this past week.
Yeah,
I did.
You're in one of my favorite spots. So, but talk about hills. You could have hit some hills.
I could have hit some hills if I would have wanted to. I did not on purpose hit hills.
I don't blame you. So my week was not so great. I did get my 2 midweek runs in. I didn't get one in for the weekend. I'm still kind of holding back a little bit from being out with kidney stone. So I'm going to push on that in the next week, and got a little bit concerned about that. I know some others may. Hopefully this will help you all. Struggled a little bit, and then I started kind of getting worried about my dopey training because, not being able to get those long runs in. I know they're critical to do, but I've been there before. I look back at my calendar from last year. I only had one run that was over 20 miles. It was 20 miles, and the longest run other than that was one 10-mile run. So I had COVID last fall, and it was not. My training plan went way downhill, but I stuck with it as best I could. I got the runs in. I got time on my feet. I think that's the key. And I got through it. I mean, I still finished the race, all 4 races. So basically, long story short, don't get discouraged if you can't get every run in. Just focus on what you can and don't push yourself too hard. So
one of the great things about having these guests on here is that just the insight from somebody else.
Right.
And our guest week before last, that's one of the things he said again and again is don't get too wrapped up in every single run. Because my training was impacted by COVID, kidney stones, other things last year. I finished dopey, but it was tough. And so I took Jody's spreadsheet and I made it, I personalized it, I customized it. And my goal was to do every single run that I could. Well, now I'm here and I'm not, and I don't feel so bad about it. Just like you said, Kevin, I went back and looked at my runs from last year and I didn't realize that I slacked off nearly as much as I did. I actually, I missed a lot being sick last year, and I did a 15 and a 17, and that was about sometime in November, and I missed a lot, and I still made it. It was tough, but I wouldn't say it was so tough that it was impossible, Right. And so I feel like I'm on a better track this year, and I'm going to finish stronger too. So I think we're fine.
I think what I've learned, not only from our Release the Quacken podcast, but our various guests, and in particular, those people who have done this multiple times, and from the Rise and Run podcast, time on your feet is almost just as important as distance that you travel.
Yeah.
And so I think that equation of time on your feet. So when I'm out walking the dog or, tossing a ball in the backyard with my kid, I keep reminding myself that's time on your feet. So anyway, enough for me. So.
Well,
right.
I was going to say, I read the Makovetsky book, and 2 things I got was every marathon he ran, he would always ask himself, why am I doing this? And it made me feel normal asking, why am I doing this? But he also talked about, some of the best races he was not at 100%. He says, I wasn't at peak condition, but he still was able to go and do well. And I think that a lot of people forget we have 16 minutes from the last person that crosses the starting line. And that gives us a lot of time. Even 16 minutes is a good amount of time to, to take it. And we all have different goals. And my goal is always just have fun and finish.
Yeah, and Ray is definitely a veteran. I think I've seen Ray at every race that I've done at Disney.
Well, I was thinking about Jody, because back in 2012, I did the Princess. I was one of the few guys, and like I said, I I did it so I could do the coast and coast, and it just fell into place. But it was like just experience running with all the women. I went into the restroom to go do my business. I was the only one in there. And then as I was coming out, women started coming in because their restroom was full, and it's like, I don't care.
Yeah. And you actually had a pretty interesting race, not this year, but in 2020. I remember on that one, it couldn't have been more stressful for you. And I know that was, you pushed through and you conquered that marathon, but it was the bus debacle where I think you had to run like,
Oh no,
before you
that
got
was
to the start line.
That was Phil. That was Phil.
Oh, was it?
That was Phil
Okay.
Scheingold. Yeah, but that was hot. I mean, I'll be honest. There were miles. It's like I don't remember anything in those miles.
Yeah.
And Elaine, one of her friends, was there at the boardwalk and gave me a Sprite, and that just perked me up a lot. So you know, that was a hot race, especially when you see people on the side of the road getting IVs, and they cut that race short too.
They did, yeah.
So Ray, how many dopies have you done?
You know, I'll be honest, this is my first dopey.
Okay.
Wow.
But I've done a lot of goofies.
Yeah.
And it was more of I just didn't have time. And you know, it's because it's 4 days. And it was never that I didn't think I could do it, which, you know, I don't want to sell it short. It's hard, but I just didn't want to put this time. And then it's like, yeah, I need to do it once so I can say that I've done it once.
So you've had a unique experience where you've done coast to coast. So what was your first Run Disney race?
Yeah,
that was 2011, and it was a Disney World half marathon. And then I've done a lot of races. I was looking back in the Tower of Terror races that they used to have in October. They only did like 3 of those, and I loved them. Done a lot of Star Wars. Sad when they stopped doing them.
I know.
Yeah, I'm upset too.
I love Disneyland races. I'm so happy they're coming back. I prefer those halves to Walt Disney World.
So what's the difference there? I mean,
okay. For one thing, you wake up and you walk down to the race. You know,
there's
there's no buses. You know, and I always laugh because coming from Texas, I would wake up early, so I usually was like the first person there, and I walk around and get pictures of everything, but you have the whole town, you know, of Anaheim out there cheering you on. I mean, you get a good portion of the parks in the beginning, and then you're out and you don't see any characters, but you have the whole city. You have, you had like Mexican dancers. You have bands just cheering you on, and you have people giving you stuff, which you don't have that at Disney World. You only, you know, have the portions at the boardwalk and some of the parks, but no, it's going through, and they're just fun and enjoyable. Not to take anything away from Disney World races, but you have the whole community kind of get involved in those.
So how many Disneyland races have you done?
About 5 or 6. I'm really bad at counting my races.
That's all right. That's so amazing. My jealousy level is just off the charts right now. So
we put up some medals. I've been really bad. A couple of years we put up a really nice medal rack, and I think I put like maybe 40 medals up on there, but that was just like a portion of them, and I didn't even put up last year's races. And I've gotten to the point, you know, oh, these are really nice medals. I wrap them up and I put them in a box in the closet.
So do you have
like big races, you know?
Yeah. Do you have one medal that you like more than all the others? Because you've obviously got a big collection.
Okay. Little Rock. If you ever have a chance to run Little Rock, they're huge medals. I mean, but that big. And I did it last year. in San Antonio, they had to run the Alamo, and they gave me a big medal about that big for the marathon, and it's a replica of the Alamo.
Hmm.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Tower Terror races were fun with a little up and down elevator. And I think going back to my first half marathon is also one of my favorites.
What was your first? Was it Disney or was it somewhere else?
It was Disney. It
Yeah.
was Disneyland. I had heard on a podcast about a race like 2 years before, and goes, "Oh, I want to go do that." And the funny thing was, I'm just going to do that one half.
Yeah.
It's the lies we tell ourselves. I'm just going to do that one half. I'm not going to do anything more. That's just crazy.
Yep.
Never doing this again.
Yeah, that's just for crazy people.
And as the woman on the podcast tonight, I'm going to say that's the way that we all feel when we have a baby. I'm never doing this again. And then,
Well, I
It's
always
that-
tell people,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
marathon, if you after the marathon, you say, "Oh man, this stinks. I hate this. I'm never going to do it." And then a month later, you think, "Man, that was pretty fun. Let me sign up."
So I wrote down Little Rock and Alamo as places that I've got to check out. I've got some friends who are trying to get all different races in all the different states. So those medals sound pretty cool. I'll have to check those out.
Little Rock, you'll be right at home, is very hilly. Running up the hill, mile 20, and I was asking the people, "Are we at the top of Arkansas?" I go, "Oh no, you still have to go on further." And it's a beautiful city. And San Antonio is also a very beautiful city here in Texas.
Cool.
Great.
So how's your training going so far?
It was doing good until like a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. Started having hip problems, bursitis. But when I came back from Disney, did 14 miles. It was kind of sore, but it wasn't bad pain. I was able to run this week without any pain. It was kind of slow, casual pace. Like, I'm just running. I don't care about pace. And I'm feeling good for this week, doing 17 miles and do the back-to-back. Now,
so this is week 16, right? And you said it's a 17 miler, and what was the other?
It's week 16, so it's our 2 45 minutes, and then we've got a 7-mile walk and a 17-mile run back to back.
So I may do a run on Monday, and then on Friday do my walk and get up like at 5 a.m. and do my 17 because I still have so much to do on Saturday. You know how it goes.
Yeah. So do you like to run in the morning or at night?
I love to run. I love to run in the morning. People laugh because I say, "Oh, run at 5 o'clock," especially here. I can run in the town and there's nothing going on until like 7. And I got 2 hours in. And then I also love seeing the sunrise come up. But I also like running at night when I do. I just too busy at night.
Yeah.
So, Ray, I ask a question of all of our guests. Well, I guess Jeff always asks the one question. I should one of us should ask, but he always says, "What makes you do this? What makes you want to do the Disney races? What brings you back year after year?"
The first time was running through the castle. That was why I wanted to do the half. But about 5 or 6 years, when they formed the Biogras Lizard, it was coming to run with the people. You meet so many friends, so many people. You run with them, you have a good time with them, and then you see them all the time, on Facebook, internet, and then you go see them in other races. It's just running with the people. And Disney does a great race. There was only one other race that I think probably runs a better race with runner support, which was St. George, and they treated you so well when you came in. Actually, through the whole race. But they do a very good job for the amount of people that have run in the races. They take good care of them.
And so then my question that I ask everybody is to costume or to not costume?
Okay.
Where do you fall on the spectrum?
I do this hybrid. I wear a runner shirt.
Mhm.
But for every marathon I've ran, I wore a Spider-Man shirt.
Yep.
And I do that for every marathon. Even when I did virtual marathons, I would wear a running shirt. And then for the halves, back in 2012 when I did the Princess, someone did a shirt for me, and they did handprints of my kids, and on the fingers were different characters. And so
Oh.
every half for when I've done Goofy, I would wear that shirt. But for like Star Wars, I would wear like a pseudo Han Solo shirt or pseudo Darth Vader shirt. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that's
how you can find Ray.
Yeah.
Just look for the Star Wars
shirt.
Yeah. Look for the Spider-Man shirt and you'll find Ray.
And it's just funny because someone goes, he goes, was looking for me in a race, and they said they just looked for the Spider-Man shirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's my ideal for a costume. But for this Dopey, I am running with my son, who's 11, and he convinced me to go as Clank and Bobble from Tinkerbell. So we have like green shirts and green shorts, and we're gonna have fairy wings.
Wait, your 11-year-old is doing Dopey?
No, he's doing the 5K.
Oh gosh.
No.
I was like, what?
Well, he's doing the 5K. No. I'm lucky I can get him to do the 5K. and he's done Star Wars 5K, so he knows what it takes, and so but no, I'm lucky to get him to do 5K. None of my kids run with me; they just run Forest.
I love those two characters from Tinkerbell. Love them. Those are that's underrepresented. So I appreciate you guys dressing as that.
They're cute movies. I enjoyed watching them all.
Yeah, they are good.
All right.
We always say my favorite characters were Rosetta. With the ironic, isn't it?
Yeah. So all these races, Ray, that you've done, what wisdom share with everybody based on all of your experience? If somebody's a first timer going out there and trying to run Disney race, what would you share with them?
Trust your training.
That's good.
You put in the miles. It's okay. Enjoy yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. I remember listening to a podcast, and they had a psychiatrist that deals with runners, and he talked about Boston and how people would get to Boston and they'd run and they would shut down at the end of the race because they didn't achieve their goals and because they didn't get their time, but they just you not understand the accomplishment that you did. You ran a marathon and you ran in Boston. And so they always say, have several goals. So in case you don't get your first one, you may get your second or third one. And so like I said, my goals are basic. I just want to finish and have a good time. And
I think that's
if I PR'd, I'm good.
I think that's a good point, is to have multiple goals. It's always a good thing. Is there will be some things that happen on a race course, not necessarily Disney. You don't usually push that. Some people actually try to get a PR, but in a race, you're trying to get a good time, a good PR, a good proof of time, something like that. Have different goals, because there's some things you can't control, like the weather, the heat, things like that. So
it is really hard to get a PR time in Disney because it's too crowded in certain locations. You have the characters, but it's just. And I always tell if you want to get a PR, go do a small local race.
That's great advice.
I'm of the belief that just about anybody can do Dopey. Like you said, trust the training. But there's one person or one group of people that can't do Dopey. That's skeletons, because they just don't have the guts.
Yes.
Throw in the jokes.
I'm going to save that for my kids. They always enjoy a good dad joke.
That's just I just call that a joke.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
a Gene joke.
Well, you know when it becomes a dad joke? When it
When?
becomes a parent.
That's good.
Nice.
Well, I agree with you. Trusting the training is so important, and I think people get caught up on marking every little thing off the calendar, but time on your feet is just even more
And,
important than what your clock says and how many miles you do and all that good stuff.
and run your own race. Don't run the race the guy standing next to you, because you don't know what his goals and what his training is.
Exactly.
That's true.
I could never PR at a Disney race because I'm like, zogging up like squirrel, character. What could I see? Like
Yep.
too much fun. I don't want to go PR there. I agree with you. Go find a local race where I'm more focused on looking at the ground and making sure I'm not going to trip and fall than I am all the excitement around me. So.
And with the Disney race, you also have to make that decision beforehand. What are you going to do? Are you going to take time to stand in that line, or are you just going to skip it? Because it's hard. You're like, I don't know. Do I want to stay in this character? Do I want to go? I know my first marathon. The one thing I wanted to do was ride Everest, and so I timed it to get there like right before 9 when they opened, and then after I rode Everest, I looked at how much time I had and I stopped at character. So it's good to have those goals too.
So that was my husband's super competitive and likes to like drive and push and wants to win. So when he said he wanted to do Dopey with me, I was like, listen, this PR is a PR and fun. So if you can't sign up for a PR and fun, I don't want you there, because you're going to like, I'm not interested in going faster, pushing pace, doing whatever. Like if you want to have fun, then you're allowed to show up and you can run. But if you're going to be all about time and splits and what the pace is, then I don't want you to come be a part of this, because that's not what a Disney race is for. So I actually had him, we actually did wine and dine before we did Marathon Weekend, because I wanted him to experience what Disney races were like, because they're so different than any other race out there. So once he did wine and dine, he was like, well, that's pretty cool, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, now you can do Marathon Weekend. Now you're allowed.
Yeah. Well, I remember, it was a long time when they did Tower of Terror. They talked about the guy that won it. And he said he stopped at every character and he still won it. And it says, well, of course, there was no line.
There's no line. That's right. He's in first. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I guess it's a benefit, for going fast and first.
Yes.
Well, Ray, thank you so much for joining us. I think, you have such an amazing experience running on both coasts and all these races and various races. So are you doing wine and dine this year?
No, I'm just doing Dopey, and I'm going to try and see
just
what other race. I'm just doing Dopey. Before I would just say, I'm just doing Goofy. And then last year I just did the marathon, I think I'm just going to stick to January, but I have other races I kind of want to do. I've put it out there in my own mind that there's a race in May, and I want to see how I'm feeling after the marathon of doing the 50 miler in May, and see if I want to build off of my training, just so I can say, I did a 50. I just did a 50 miler. That's okay.
50 miles.
That's crazy.
Well, I've done like 4 50Ks, and and I was talking to our friend Chris, and he's done ultras and 15. Because it's really more relaxed, and so I think after, if I feel good, I'll probably just build off of that and do the 50 miler in May.
Yes. More power to you, man. That is impressive. Wow.
Well, after a while, even doing the 50K, it's like, well, I do a marathon. It's just another 6 miles,
Yeah, that's a lot, though. That's basically Dopey in a day. More than Dopey in a day.
More than Dopey in a day.
Well, no, a 50 miler, yes, but a 50K, it's just another 6 miles off the marathon. So
Just
and you all can do it, 50K, and I think sometimes we put these little how do you say, these I can't do's, these roadblocks in our minds. That's too hard. I don't want to do it. But then again, I don't push myself on pace because I say I'm a lazy runner. I just go.
As Lonnie says, we're built for comfort, not speed.
That's right.
Yes.
But your point about it being, we put up our own limits. I've heard motivational speakers talk about that. There's a guy that was a POW in Vietnam, and they were emaciated. They were starved to death, and they started. They had nothing else to do, and so they worked out a code, and they started having push-up contests. And the first day they couldn't do that. By the end of it, they're doing hundreds of push-ups at a time because they're just outdoing each other. Same thing. You read Born to Run, and it talks about these limits that we put on ourselves. I talked to a kid this morning who runs cross country, and he ran 18 and some change 3 miles yesterday. Wow. And I said, I ran an 8-minute mile one time when I was younger, like 10 years ago. But this kid, he told me he ran a 5-minute mile before, that's just crazy to me. And, the point is that people continue to beat their own obstacles, their own limits, their own records. And it's so much of it's right here,
Yeah.
And you really surprise yourself when you do it. I'll be honest, on the PRs, I just started to run, and then usually by the halfway, it's like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm going to push it the rest of the way. And like I said, I'm a lazy runner. I just say, go. I'm going to see how I'm going to run today, and just go off of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Ray, we really appreciate you joining us tonight, and I can't wait to see you again in January. And
yes, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody all 4 days instead of 2.
Yeah.
You'll
and I'll say, anybody out there that comes to a race and wants to have somebody that you don't know, Ray is very good about making you feel welcome, and he's one of the first lizards I met.
Me too.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to talk to the guy with the Spider-Man shirt,
Yes,
especially on Marathon Day.
say hi.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it for us here. I just wanted to let everybody know that we're here for you, and whatever you need. If you got any questions, post them in the Facebook group, and we'll try to get you some help or some advice or motivation, all the above. And just remember, everybody, forward's a pace.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray. We appreciate you being here.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Appreciate it.